Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, why does my hair look thinner, duller, or weaker, even though I'm eating better than I used to? This is one of the most common concerns I hear from seniors, and here's the surprising truth. Hair loss and thinning are rarely about the hair itself. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your hair is a metabolic tissue. It's deeply connected to blood flow, insulin balance, inflammation, hormones, and nutrient delivery. When your body senses stress, nutrient scarcity, or metabolic inefficiency, hair growth is one of the first systems it slows down. Not because something is wrong with your scalp, but because your body is prioritizing survival over appearance. And this matters far more than vanity. Hair thinning in seniors often reflects declining metabolic resilience, reduced circulation, rising inflammation, and impaired protein synthesis. The same processes tied to fatigue, muscle loss, insulin resistance, and accelerated aging. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your body like a city. Your vital organs, heart, brain, liver, are downtown. Hair follicles, they're the suburbs. When energy is abundant, blood flow is strong, and nutrients are plentiful, the suburbs thrive. But when fuel is limited or inflammation rises, the city redirects resources inward and the suburbs suffer. So the question becomes, how do we restore circulation, nutrients, and metabolic signals so hair can grow again? Naturally? The answer is not expensive shampoos, hormone creams, or isolated supplements. The answer is food. Strategically chosen foods that activate blood vessel growth, support collagen and keratin production, calm inflammation, and improve insulin signaling. In this talk, I'm going to show you 7 specific foods that research shows can help bring aging hair back to life, thicker, stronger, and more resilient, by working with your body's biology, not against it. We'll focus on improving microcirculation to the scalp, supporting protein synthesis and follicle stem cells, lowering inflammatory stress hormones like cortisol, enhancing nutrient absorption, especially iron, zinc, biotin, and omega-3s. And most importantly, we'll do this in a way that supports overall longevity, not just hair. Because when your hair improves, it's often a sign that your metabolism is healing too. If that sounds like something worth understanding, stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll have clear, practical tools you can use immediately, starting with your very next meal. One of the most overlooked reasons hair thins with age is reduced blood flow to the scalp. And that's why the first food we need to talk about is berries, especially blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every hair follicle depends on a dense network of microscopic blood vessels to deliver oxygen, amino acids, minerals, and growth signals. As we age, these vessels don't disappear. They simply become less responsive. The signal that tells them to open, grow, and repair weakens over time. That signal is called angiogenesis, the body's ability to grow and maintain healthy blood vessels. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your scalp is a lawn. Hair follicles are the grass. Blood vessels are the irrigation system. You can add fertilizer, supplements, shampoos, treatments, but if water isn't reaching the roots, the grass still dies back. Berries don't fertilize the grass, they repair the irrigation system. What the research shows is that berries are rich in polyphenols, especially anthocyanins, which actively stimulate nitric oxide production and angiogenic signaling. These compounds help blood vessels relax, expand, and deliver nutrients more efficiently, including to aging hair follicles. Dr. William Li often highlights berries because they don't just reduce inflammation, they activate repair pathways. Studies show that berry polyphenols can increase endothelial function, improve microcirculation, and reduce oxidative stress, all essential for hair follicle survival and regrowth. Now here's where this becomes especially important for seniors. As insulin sensitivity declines with age, blood becomes thicker, more inflammatory, and less efficient at delivering nutrients. Hair follicles are extremely sensitive to this change. Berries help blunt post-meal glucose spikes, lower oxidative stress, and restore vascular responsiveness, creating a metabolic environment where hair can grow again. But timing matters. The best way to use berries for hair health is earlier in the day, ideally with breakfast or lunch. This is when insulin sensitivity is highest and blood flow is most responsive. A small bowl of mixed berries with Greek yogurt, chia seeds, or nuts creates a powerful combination. Protein for keratin, fats for absorption, and polyphenols for circulation. Quantity also matters. You don't need large amounts. About 1 to 2 to 1 cup daily is enough to activate these pathways without overstimulating blood sugar. And here's an important mistake to avoid: fruit juice. Juicing strips away fiber and concentrates sugar, which can worsen insulin resistance, the opposite of what hair follicles need. Whole berries deliver slow-release glucose, along with protective compounds that actually improve metabolic health. If you're taking medications that affect circulation, blood pressure meds, statins, berries are especially valuable because they support vascular health without strain. Now, this is a good point to pause and say, if this is helpful so far, consider subscribing to the channel. I post evidence-based content like this every day to help you restore health from the inside out, naturally. One more important note: consistency beats intensity. Hair follicles operate on long biological timelines. You won't see changes in a week, but after 6 to 12 weeks of improved circulation, many people notice less shedding, better texture, and new fine growth around the hairline. That's your body responding to restored blood flow. And remember that when circulation improves in the scalp, it's improving everywhere: your brain, your muscles, your heart. Hair is simply the visible signal. Now let's move to the second food, one that provides the raw building blocks your hair follicles need to actually construct strong, resilient strands. Once blood flow is restored, the next limiting factor for aging hair is raw material. Specifically, whether your body has the right amino acids and minerals to actually build hair. And this brings us to the second food, eggs. Hair is primarily made of keratin, a structural protein. But keratin isn't just protein, it's a very specific combination of sulfur-containing amino acids, especially cysteine and methionine, along with zinc, iron, and biotin. Eggs happen to be one of the most biologically complete sources of these nutrients. Here's what's really going on inside your body. As we age, digestion becomes less efficient, stomach acid declines, pancreatic enzymes weaken, and protein breakdown becomes less complete. That means even if you're eating enough protein on paper, your body may not be absorbing and assembling it efficiently. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of protein like lumber delivered to a construction site. If the wood arrives already cut and measured, the building goes up quickly. If it arrives in tangled, oversized pieces, construction slows down or stops altogether. Eggs deliver protein in a form your body can use with minimal metabolic effort. Eggs contain all 9 essential amino acids in the exact ratios needed for tissue repair, including hair follicles. This is why eggs are often used as the reference protein in nutritional science. What the research shows is that biotin deficiency, even mild, is associated with hair thinning and brittle strands, especially in older adults. Eggs provide biotin, but just as importantly, they provide the amino acids biotin works with to activate keratin-producing enzymes. There's a myth that eggs increase inflammation or harm cholesterol. For most seniors, the opposite is true. Studies consistently show that whole eggs improve HDL, the good cholesterol, and support metabolic health when eaten as part of a whole food diet. Now, preparation matters. The most hair-supportive way to eat eggs is soft-cooked, boiled, poached, or gently scrambled. Overcooking damages sulfur amino acids and oxidizes fats, reducing their biological value. Aim for 1 to 2 eggs per day, ideally at breakfast or lunch. This timing aligns protein intake with your body's natural repair window when muscle, skin, and hair protein synthesis are most active. Pair eggs with vegetables or berries, not refined carbohydrates. This keeps insulin stable. And remember, insulin spikes shut down hair growth signals. One important caution: raw egg whites contain avidin, which binds biotin and prevents absorption. So eggs should always be cooked. If you've noticed hair becoming thinner, weaker, or slower to grow, especially along with muscle loss or fatigue, this is often a protein utilization problem, not a protein intake problem. Eggs help correct that at the root. And here's something powerful to remember. When your body finally has enough amino acids, it doesn't just prioritize hair. It improves immune function, muscle strength, and hormone signaling too. If this breakdown is making sense so far, consider subscribing to the channel. I share daily research-backed strategies to help you rebuild health, not just manage symptoms. Now, we've restored circulation and supplied the building blocks. Next, we need to address something that quietly sabotages hair in seniors: chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. That brings us to the third food, one that protects hair follicles from aging at the cellular level. Even with good blood flow and adequate protein, hair follicles can still shut down if they're exposed to chronic inflammation. And this is one of the biggest hidden reasons seniors experience thinning, fragile, or slow-growing hair. The third food that brings hair back to life is fatty fish, especially sardines, wild salmon, and mackerel. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Hair follicles are some of the most metabolically active cells you have. That makes them extremely sensitive to inflammatory signals. As we age, low-grade inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging, quietly rises. This inflammation releases molecules like IL-6 and TNF-alpha, which actively push hair follicles out of the growth phase and into a resting or shedding phase. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine trying to grow plants in soil that's constantly irritated, too hot, too acidic, constantly disturbed. Even with water and fertilizer, growth stalls. Inflammation creates that hostile environment for hair follicles. Fatty fish work because they directly calm that inflammatory environment. What the research shows is that omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, reduce inflammatory signaling, stabilize cell membranes, and protect follicle stem cells from oxidative damage. These fats also improve blood viscosity, meaning blood flows more easily through tiny scalp capillaries. That combination is powerful: better flow and less inflammation. For seniors, this matters even more because omega-3 absorption and conversion decline with age, while omega-6 intake from processed seed oils often increases. That imbalance accelerates hair aging. Fatty fish help restore that balance. But there's another important mechanism most people don't realize. Omega-3s improve insulin sensitivity, and remember, insulin resistance restricts nutrient delivery to hair follicles. When omega-3s improve insulin signaling, follicles receive more amino acids, minerals, and oxygen, even without changing calorie intake. Now let's talk about how to use this practically. Aim for 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week. A serving is about the size of your palm. Sardines are especially valuable because they're rich in omega-3s, low in mercury, and contain vitamin D, another nutrient linked to hair follicle cycling. If fresh fish isn't accessible, canned sardines or salmon are excellent alternatives. Just choose versions packed in water or olive oil, not seed oils. Timing matters less here than consistency. Omega-3s work by gradually changing cell membrane composition. This takes weeks, not days. Most people notice reduced shedding and improved hair texture after 8 to 12 weeks. If you're already taking fish oil supplements, whole fish still matters. Food provides supporting nutrients, selenium, astaxanthin, vitamin D, that supplements often lack. Now, this is an important moment to pause and say, if this content is helping you understand your body more clearly, consider subscribing. I post daily evidence-based videos to help you restore metabolism, energy, and longevity naturally. One more key point: hair that responds to omega-3s often becomes shinier and more elastic, not just thicker. That's a sign that the hair shaft itself is becoming better hydrated and structurally resilient, a reflection of improved cellular health. And once again, this isn't just about hair. Lower inflammation improves joint health, brain function, cardiovascular resilience, and muscle recovery. Now that we've addressed circulation, protein synthesis, and inflammation, we need to talk about something many seniors overlook entirely: mineral delivery to the hair follicle. That brings us to the fourth food, one that quietly determines whether hair grows strong or breaks early. One of the fastest ways hair loses strength with age isn't shedding, it's breakage. Hair grows, but it snaps, thins, and loses resilience before it ever reaches length. And this almost always traces back to mineral deficiency at the follicle level. The fourth food that helps reverse this is pumpkin seeds. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Hair follicles require a constant supply of minerals, especially zinc, iron, and magnesium, to activate the enzymes that build keratin and protect the hair shaft. Zinc in particular acts like a master switch. Without it, hair growth enzymes slow down, collagen cross-linking weakens, and follicles prematurely enter a resting phase. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of enzymes like factory workers assembling hair. Minerals are the tools. If the tools are missing or dull, production slows, no matter how many workers you have. Pumpkin seeds are one of the most efficient ways to restock those tools. What the research shows is that zinc deficiency, even mild, is strongly associated with hair thinning, increased shedding, and slower regrowth, especially in older adults. Seniors are at higher risk because stomach acid declines with age, and zinc absorption depends heavily on adequate digestion. Pumpkin seeds deliver zinc in a bioavailable, food-based form, along with magnesium and plant-based iron. They also contain phytosterols, which support healthy hormone signaling, another layer of protection for aging hair. Now, there's an additional mechanism here that's often overlooked. Pumpkin seeds help regulate cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Chronically elevated cortisol diverts nutrients away from hair follicles and toward survival systems. Over time, this leads to thinning hair, fragile strands, and scalp dryness. Magnesium, abundant in pumpkin seeds, helps calm the nervous system, improve sleep quality, and lower stress signaling. Better sleep means better hair repair. Here's how to use them effectively. You only need about 1 to 2 tablespoons per day. More is not better. Minerals work best in balance. Pumpkin seeds can be added to yogurt, salads, soups, or blended into smoothies. Timing matters slightly. Consuming them in the evening may be especially helpful, as magnesium supports relaxation and overnight tissue repair, including hair follicles, which do much of their regeneration while you sleep. One mistake to avoid is relying on high-dose zinc supplements. Excess zinc can interfere with copper absorption and actually worsen hair problems over time. Food-based zinc comes with natural checks and balances. If you've noticed hair that breaks easily, loses shine, or won't grow past a certain length, this is often a structural problem, not a growth problem. Pumpkin seeds help restore hair's internal scaffolding. And here's the bigger picture. Minerals don't just affect hair. Zinc supports immune resilience, wound healing, and taste perception. Magnesium improves blood pressure, insulin sensitivity, and muscle relaxation. When hair improves, it's often a sign that systemic mineral balance is returning. Now we've addressed circulation, protein, inflammation, and minerals. Next, we need to talk about something even more fundamental: the fats that make up the scalp and hair shaft itself. Without the right fats, hair becomes dry, brittle, and prone to thinning, no matter how well it grows. That brings us to the fifth food, one that nourishes hair from the membrane outward. Even when hair is growing and minerals are adequate, many seniors notice their hair still looks dry, dull, or lifeless. This isn't a cosmetic issue, it's a cell membrane problem. The fifth food that helps restore hair vitality is avocados. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every hair strand is surrounded by a lipid layer, a thin coating of healthy fats that protects the hair shaft, locks in moisture, and prevents breakage. As we age, the quality of fats in our diet often declines, and the body becomes less efficient at maintaining these protective membranes. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your hair like an insulated electrical wire. The metal core is the hair protein. The outer insulation is fat. When the insulation cracks or thins, the wire still exists, but it stops working properly. Avocados help rebuild that insulation. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, particularly oleic acid, which integrates directly into cell membranes. These fats improve flexibility, hydration, and resilience of the hair shaft, making hair look fuller and healthier without changing how fast it grows. What the research shows is that diets rich in monounsaturated fats are associated with improved skin and hair barrier function, reduced oxidative stress, and better insulin sensitivity. And insulin sensitivity matters because insulin resistance reduces fat delivery to peripheral tissues, including the scalp. There's another important layer here. Avocados also provide vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that protects hair follicles from oxidative damage. Hair follicles are exposed to constant oxidative stress from UV light, inflammation, and metabolic byproducts. Vitamin E helps neutralize this stress, allowing follicles to remain in the growth phase longer. Now let's talk about how to use avocados properly. You only need about 1/4 to 1/2 of an avocado per day. More isn't necessary, especially if weight management is a goal. Avocados work best when paired with protein, eggs, fish, or yogurt, which helps shuttle fats into tissues more effectively. Timing matters. Avocados are best consumed earlier in the day or midday when your body is most efficient at using fats for cellular repair rather than storage. One mistake to avoid is combining avocados with refined carbohydrates. This can spike insulin and blunt the fat delivery benefits we're trying to achieve. If you've noticed hair that feels rough, lacks shine, or tangles easily, this is often a lipid deficiency at the follicle level, not dehydration. Drinking more water won't fix it. Supplying the right fats will. Now, this is a good point to pause and say, if this breakdown is helping you understand your body more clearly, consider subscribing to the channel. I share daily, science-based strategies to restore metabolism, energy, and healthy aging, naturally and sustainably. Here's the bigger takeaway. Healthy hair fats reflect healthy cell membranes everywhere. When membranes improve, so does brain function, hormone signaling, joint lubrication, and cardiovascular resilience. Hair becomes a visible marker of internal repair. Now we've addressed circulation, protein, inflammation, minerals, and fats. But there's still one critical factor that determines whether hair keeps its color, density, and growth cycle as we age, and it has everything to do with collagen and connective tissue support. That brings us to the sixth food, one that strengthens hair at its root and slows visible aging. One of the most visible signs of aging hair isn't just thinning, it's loss of structure. Hair grows, but it feels finer, weaker, and ages faster. And this often reflects what's happening beneath the scalp in the connective tissue that anchors each follicle. The sixth food that helps reverse this process is bone broth. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Each hair follicle sits inside a collagen-rich matrix made of connective tissue, blood vessels, and support cells. This matrix acts like a shock absorber and nutrient exchange hub. As collagen production declines with age, this structure weakens. Follicles become less stable, less nourished, and more prone to miniaturization. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of a tree planted in loose, eroding soil. The tree may still grow, but it becomes unstable, shallow-rooted, and vulnerable to stress. Bone broth helps rebuild the soil around the roots. Bone broth provides collagen peptides along with glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, amino acids your body uses to rebuild connective tissue. These are not abundant in muscle meats or plant proteins. What the research shows is that collagen supplementation improves skin elasticity, dermal thickness, and connective tissue integrity, the same tissues that support hair follicles. In seniors, collagen intake has been shown to enhance protein synthesis efficiency, especially when paired with vitamin C. There's another mechanism that's especially important. Glycine, abundant in bone broth, helps lower cortisol and support liver detoxification. High cortisol accelerates hair thinning by diverting resources away from growth. When cortisol drops, hair follicles are more likely to remain in the growth phase. Bone broth also supports gut health, which directly affects nutrient absorption. Remember, minerals and amino acids are useless if they aren't absorbed. A healthier gut means better delivery of zinc, iron, and biotin to the scalp. Now, let's talk about practical use. 1 cup of bone broth per day is sufficient. You can drink it warm, use it as a soup base, or incorporate it into meals. The best time to consume it is in the evening, when parasympathetic, repair mode activity is highest. For maximum benefit, pair bone broth with vitamin C-rich foods like lemon, parsley, or vegetables. Vitamin C is required for collagen cross-linking. Without it, collagen synthesis is incomplete. If you don't have access to homemade broth, high-quality packaged versions or collagen powders can help. Just avoid products with added sugars or artificial flavors. If you've noticed hair that feels weaker at the root, sheds more during stress, or doesn't hold volume, this is often a structural support problem, not a nutrient deficiency alone. And here's the larger picture. When connective tissue improves, joints feel more stable, skin becomes more resilient, digestion improves, and sleep deepens. Hair simply reflects this internal repair. Now we've covered 6 powerful foods. The final one ties everything together: circulation, insulin, inflammation, collagen, and follicle signaling. And it's one of the most underestimated foods for seniors. This 7th food helps reawaken dormant follicles and supports pigment and density at the same time. The final food that brings aging hair back to life is one that works upstream of almost every mechanism we've discussed: circulation, insulin signaling, inflammation, collagen production, and even hair pigment. That food is dark leafy greens, especially spinach, arugula, and kale. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Hair follicles don't just need nutrients, they need oxygen and metabolic signals to stay active. As we age, nitric oxide production declines. Nitric oxide is the molecule that tells blood vessels to relax and deliver oxygen efficiently. Without it, follicles slowly starve, even when nutrients are present. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of nutrients like packages and oxygen like delivery trucks. You can have packages stacked up, protein, minerals, fats, but without trucks, nothing arrives. Leafy greens increase the number and efficiency of delivery trucks. Dark leafy greens are rich in natural nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide. This improves microcirculation to the scalp and reactivates dormant follicles. What the research shows is that nitric oxide signaling plays a direct role in hair follicle cycling and stem cell activation. Improved circulation helps follicles stay longer in the growth phase and improves hair density over time. There's another critical benefit here. Leafy greens provide folate, iron, magnesium, and vitamin K, all essential for cell division and blood health. Folate supports DNA synthesis in rapidly dividing cells like hair follicles. Without it, growth slows dramatically. For seniors, iron from plant sources becomes especially valuable when paired with vitamin C, which enhances absorption without causing oxidative stress like excess iron supplements can. Leafy greens also help regulate insulin sensitivity. By improving glucose uptake and reducing post-meal spikes, they prevent insulin-driven inflammation that shuts down hair growth. Now, let's talk about how to use them effectively. Aim for 1 to 2 cups of dark leafy greens per day. Raw or lightly cooked is best. Overcooking destroys nitrates and folate. The best time to eat leafy greens is earlier in the day or midday, when circulation and insulin sensitivity are highest. Pair them with healthy fats, olive oil, or avocado to improve absorption of fat-soluble nutrients. One mistake to avoid is relying only on lettuce. Iceberg lettuce offers hydration but minimal micronutrients. Dark greens are where the biology happens. If you've noticed thinning along the crown, slow regrowth, or fading color, this often reflects reduced circulation and folate availability. Leafy greens address both at once. And here's the powerful takeaway. When nitric oxide improves, it doesn't just help hair. It improves brain blood flow, memory, exercise tolerance, and cardiovascular health. Hair density becomes a visible signal of restored vascular function.